I woke up to an email that nearly stopped my heart. Congratulations, your $100,000 loan has been approved. I don't remember applying for a loan. At first I thought it was a scam until I saw my full legal name, my social security number, and my bank details. Then my sister Chloe called, voice trembling with fake excitement. This will change everything for us, she said. For us? By the time I realized what she'd done, my credit was destroyed, my career was in danger, and my family was already preparing to blame me for everything. The smell of vanilla frosting and champagne floated through the air as I stood in Chloe's favourite restaurant, signing the cheque for her 31st birthday party. The room shimmered with gold balloons, glittering streamers, and a cake so tall it looked like it belonged in a royal wedding. Chloe was glowing in her sequined dress, her smile wide as she accepted gifts from friends and family. You're a true visionary, Chloe, my mother gushed, clinking her glass. This boutique will put you on the map. My father nodded in agreement. And we're all lucky Emily's here to keep everything running smoothly behind the scenes. His words were wrapped in warmth, but underneath they stung. Behind the scenes had always meant financial backup. I smiled faintly, trying to hide the tightening in my chest. Chloe thrived in the spotlight. I was used to being the scaffolding no one noticed until it was holding up all the weight. She was talking animatedly about her plans, Parisian fabrics, exclusive designs, celebrity clients, while I quietly calculated how much I'd spent on this party alone. When the candles were blown out and the toasts were over, Chloe pulled me aside. "Thank you, Em. You've always believed in me," she said, wrapping her arms around me in a perfumed hug. Her voice was honey, but her eyes had that glint I'd seen before, the one that appeared right before she got exactly what she wanted. I didn't think much of it until the next morning when my phone buzzed with an email notification. Subject: Congratulations, your $100,000 loan has been approved. I froze, staring at the screen. My mind scrambled for explanations. Mistake, scam, phishing attempt, but everything in the email matched my information perfectly. My full name, my social security number, my bank details. I scrolled down, pulse pounding, my stomach turning ice cold, and then, as if on cue, Chloe called, "Emily!" she exclaimed, her voice bubbling with excitement. "Oh my God, I have the best news. This is going to change everything for us." "For us," I repeated slowly. "Chloe, did you—" Before I could finish, she cut me off. "Don't freak out. I needed a little help to get things moving faster. It's temporary. The boutique will pay it back in no time." I gripped the phone tighter. "You took out a loan in my name." "It's just paperwork, Em. You have great credit, and we both know the bank would never approve me a loan. We're sisters. This is for the family." Her words churned in my head long after I hung up. I drove straight to my parents' house, clutching my phone like evidence. The moment I stepped inside, my mother was already waiting. "Emily," she said in that tone that was half sweet, half steel, "don't overreact. Chloe's just trying to make something of herself." "This is fraud," I said, my voice trembling. "She forged my signature. I never agreed to—" "You're her sister," my mother interrupted sharply. "Families help each other. Do you want her dream to fail before it starts? Do you want her to be humiliated?" I turned to my father, hoping for some sliver of reason. He just sighed. "It's only money, Emily. You'll get it back. Don't make this bigger than it needs to be." Chloe appeared from the kitchen, her hair perfectly styled, her expression soft and pitiful. She wrapped her arms around me. I'm sorry if this scared you. I just didn't want to burden you with all the details. You've always been there for me." Her perfume was dizzying. Her voice trembled like she was holding back tears. But when she stepped back, her eyes glimmered, not with guilt, but with victory. I said nothing. The air in the room felt thick, pressing down on me. I walked out, my mother's voice chasing after me, warning me not to ruin family harmony. In my car, my hands were shaking as I opened my glove compartment to pull out some receipts. That's when I saw it, a manila envelope I didn't recognize. I slid it open. Inside was a copy of the loan agreement and my signature, only it wasn't mine. The boutique's grand opening was everything Chloe had promised, and more. The storefront was draped in pink satin ribbons, gold lettering spelling Chloe's atelier across the glass. Photographers from the local paper milled about, snapping photos of her greeting customers and slicing the ribbon with a pair of oversized scissors. I had planned to stay in the background just as I always did, but as I slipped inside, I noticed a display board propped near the entrance. Founders, Chloe Carter and Emily Carter. My stomach dropped. "Emily," Chloe chirped, pulling me into the center of the crowd. "This is my sister, my rock, my partner in everything." "Partner," I repeated under my breath, but the music and chatter swallowed my voice. The boutique was beautiful, rows of silk blouses, racks of tailored dresses, shelves lined with jewellery in velvet boxes. But I couldn't shake the knot in my chest. Each item represented money, money tied to a loan in my name. A reporter from the Austin Chronicle approached, notebook in hand. "Ms. Carter, as the financial co-founder, what's your 5-year vision for the brand?" I froze. My 5-year vision. I hadn't even known I was a founder until 5 minutes ago. I think Chloe has a wonderful creative direction," I managed, forcing a smile. "I just support her however I can." The reporter scribbled something down, and I couldn't tell if it was my answer or the hesitation in my voice. That night I went home exhausted, my head buzzing with half-formed worries. But the next few weeks brought no relief. Chloe's face appeared in the local paper, on small business blogs, even on morning talk shows. She spoke about our journey, always referring to me as the one who believed in the dream enough to take a risk. A risk. That's what she called a $100,000 debt in my name. Within 3 months, the boutique's shimmer began to dull. I stopped by one afternoon to find the store nearly empty. Chloe brushed it off as a seasonal slump, but the unease in her voice told another story. Soon after, Chloe started posting vague videos on social media. Sometimes the people closest to you don't follow through on their promises, but real entrepreneurs push through. Comments poured in, speculation ran wild, and though she never said my name, I could feel the target forming on my back. One Sunday, my parents called for a family meeting. I knew before I walked in that it wouldn't be good. We sat around the dining room table, the same one where I'd spent countless holidays trying to keep the peace. My mother folded her hands in front of her. "Chloe's business is going through a temporary rough patch. She just needs a little more support to keep things afloat." "I've already given more support than I agreed to," I said, my voice steady but quiet. My father frowned. "Emily, this is about family. We can't just let her fail. People will talk. Do you want her reputation destroyed?" I stared at them, incredulous. "Her reputation? What about mine? My credit is already hanging by a thread. I could lose my job if this goes any further." Chloe's eyes filled with tears, perfectly timed as always. I'm just trying to make something of myself, Em, but I can't do it alone. My parents looked at me as though the matter was settled, as though my refusal to sink deeper into debt was selfish. I walked out of that meeting without giving them an answer, the weight of their disappointment pressing on my back. A week later, I stopped by the boutique again, determined to see for myself what was happening. Chloe wasn't there. The shelves looked fuller than I expected. Too full. I picked up a silk blouse and glanced at the tag, made in China. I checked another dress, same tag, a rack of handcrafted handbags, identical tags. My heart thudded. The boutique's entire branding had been built on locally handmade luxury goods. Chloe was lying to customers, passing off imported bulk items as exclusive designs. And if she was lying to them, how far would she go to cover up what she'd done to me? It happened faster than I expected. One Monday morning, I walked past the boutique on my way to work and noticed the grand opening banner was gone. In its place hung a stark white sign, closed for renovations. I knew better. There was no renovation coming. By Wednesday, the local business blog reported Chloe's atelier had shut its doors indefinitely due to unforeseen financial circumstances. Chloe's social media accounts went silent for 2 days, then roared back with a vengeance. Her first video was posted on TikTok, a tearful Chloe sitting in her car, makeup running as she spoke directly to the camera. "I poured my heart and soul into my dream," she said, voice trembling. "But sometimes the people you trust the most don't support you the way they promised. I never thought my own sister would be the reason my dream failed." My name wasn't mentioned, but it didn't have to be. The comments section exploded. "Wow, your sister is jealous." Cut her out of your life, queen. Some people can't handle seeing others succeed. Within 24 hours, the video had over 2 million views. My phone lit up with texts from co-workers. "Is she talking about you?" My email pinged with a message from my manager. "We need to talk." At work, the fallout was swift. A major client who had seen Chloe's video requested to be reassigned to another accountant. My manager's face was tight as she explained, "We can't afford bad publicity, Emily." It didn't matter that none of it was true. The damage was done. That night, I sat alone in my apartment scrolling through Chloe's social media. She had posted more videos, clips of the boutique, montages of before and after shots, captions that painted her as a visionary crushed by betrayal. My own silence made her story stronger. I didn't know how to fight back without looking like the villain she claimed I was. Then, out of nowhere, a message popped up in my Instagram DMs. The profile had no picture, just a grey default avatar. "You should know she's already planning another boutique. New name, different LLC." Attached was a screenshot, a business registration for Carter Luxe, filed under Chloe's name just 3 days earlier. My chest tightened. While the world believed she was a heartbroken victim, she was quietly laying the groundwork to do it all over again. The betrayal burned hotter than ever. I stared at the screen until my eyes blurred, my hands gripping the phone like it was the only thing keeping me upright. But anger quickly gave way to exhaustion. Days passed in a fog. My work was on probationary status. Friends stopped inviting me to gatherings. They didn't know what to say, or they didn't want to choose sides. My parents called only to lecture me about supporting Chloe through this difficult time. I stopped answering the phone. Then one afternoon, my best friend Mia came over unannounced, holding her phone. "You need to see this," she said, her voice sharp. She pressed play on a video. Chloe was at a rooftop party, a drink in her hand, laughing. "Of course I didn't lose anything," she bragged to someone off camera. "Emily paid for all of it. The loan, the inventory, everything. I just walked away." The people around her laughed. I felt my knees go weak. "She admitted it," I whispered. Mia squeezed my shoulder. "She admitted it on camera, and she thinks she's untouchable." Something in me cracked. That night, I sat in my dark apartment, the only light coming from my phone screen as I scrolled through Chloe's videos again. Each smiling post, each carefully crafted lie, felt like another weight pressing on my chest. For the first time, I thought about just disappearing, walking away from the mess, the debt, the family who never saw me as anything but a resource. My phone buzzed again. I almost ignored it until I saw the notification. It wasn't a random number. It wasn't Mia. It was a direct message from someone I didn't recognize. The username was clean, professional. "I've been following your situation. I can help." I almost deleted it, but then another message came. "I'm a lawyer. I've handled cases like this before. But if you want to win, you need to be prepared to dig deeper. Your family's history with you. It's not just about the boutique." My breath caught. "What do you mean, not just about the boutique?" The typing indicator appeared. "Let's just say, your sister isn't the only one who's been using your name." I met with the lawyer at a quiet coffee shop downtown. His name was Daniel Ruiz, sharp-eyed and calm, the kind of man who spoke as if every word was deliberate. "I've looked into your sister's boutique," he began, sliding a folder across the table. "It's bad, Emily. But the boutique isn't the whole story. Your name appears on other documents, tax filings, property deeds. I think your parents have been using your credit for years." I stared at him, my stomach dropping. "What are you talking about?" He opened the folder. Inside were copies of real estate records, 3 separate properties in my hometown, all purchased under my name. I had never seen them before. "They used you as a tax shelter," Daniel explained. "They transferred ownership on paper to avoid paying certain liabilities. And because you never contested it, it went unnoticed." I felt heat rising in my chest. Not the helpless kind I'd been drowning in for months, but a sharper, more focused burn. They've been stealing from me for years. "That's why I said," Daniel replied evenly, "the boutique is just the tip of the iceberg." That night I tore through my old files, loan statements, insurance policies, even my tax returns. The more I looked, the more I saw a pattern. My name, my credit, my future being used as a personal safety net for them all. Chloe was reckless, but my parents were calculated, and I'd been the perfect mark, the reliable daughter, the one who never questioned too much. Fueled by a mix of rage and clarity, I went deeper. Daniel helped me file information requests. I traced Chloe's financial footprint and found something stranger, a shell company in Florida. Carter Lux LLC, Daniel read from the documents. Registered under Chloe's name, but funded by wire transfers from multiple accounts, some tied to her boutique. "Why would she set up a company in Florida?" I asked. Daniel hesitated. "Because Florida has looser reporting requirements. It's the perfect place to hide something." I didn't understand until we pulled bank statements from the boutique. Payments marked as vendor expenses were being transferred directly into Carter Lux LLC, and then Daniel dropped the last piece. The account was accessed by someone named Ethan Ward. Does that name mean anything to you? I froze. Ethan Ward was Chloe's ex-boyfriend, the one she'd called toxic and dangerous after their breakup. The realization hit me like ice water. Chloe had been laundering money through the boutique, likely for Ethan. This wasn't just about betrayal anymore. This was about criminal activity. I didn't sleep that night. By morning, I had made a decision. I called Chloe. "Em," she said, her voice sugary sweet. "I've been meaning to talk to you. I think we should start over, rebuild together, a new boutique, maybe even bigger this time." My pulse quickened. "That's exactly what I was thinking," I lied. "Let's meet. We can go over plans." The plan was simple: pretend to be back on her side, get her comfortable, and gather proof. We met at a trendy wine bar 2 nights later. Chloe arrived in a designer dress, her charm turned up to 11. "I knew you'd come around," she said, ordering the most expensive wine on the menu. "You've always been my safety net, and you know Mom and Dad are counting on us." I smiled, though my stomach twisted. "What do you mean, counting on us?" Chloe leaned in, lowering her voice. "Let's just say, if certain things about Mum and Dad's finances ever came out, they'd lose everything, and I'm not about to let that happen, not when we can fix all of this together." Her words hit me like a sledgehammer. My parents weren't just passively benefiting, they were actively hiding something. I swirled the wine in my glass, masking my shock. "Then we'll just have to make sure no one ever finds out," I said smoothly, even as my mind raced, because now I had leverage. I had the proof, I had the motive, and for the first time I had the courage. Daniel and I worked through the night, compiling everything: forged loan documents, property deeds in my name, boutique bank statements, and transfers to Carter Lux LLC. The pile was overwhelming, years of exploitation layered in neat, damning evidence. "This isn't just a civil case," Daniel said, flipping through the files. "This is fraud, tax evasion, potential money laundering." I felt no fear, only a cold, steady resolve. "Then let's make it public." The first step was the authorities. Daniel filed formal reports with the State Financial Crimes Unit and the IRS. But we both knew investigations took time, and time was exactly what Chloe used to spin narratives. That's where the second step came in: TikTok. I'd been silent for months while Chloe told her version of events. Now it was my turn. The first video was simple, just me sitting at my kitchen table holding a copy of the loan document. My voice was calm, deliberate. "My name is Emily Carter," I began, "and my sister Chloe took out a $100,000 loan in my name without my consent. She told the world I destroyed her dream. But here's what really happened." I flipped to the page showing the forged signature. "She used my credit to fund her boutique, which she later shut down. She blamed me when it failed. But the money didn't just disappear. It was transferred to another company she set up in Florida. Here's the proof." The second video detailed Carter Lux LLC, the bank statements, and Ethan Ward's involvement. The third video dug into my parents' role: property deeds, tax avoidance, my name being used as a shield for their financial mess. Each post gained traction. First hundreds of views, then thousands, then millions. Comments flooded in. "This is insane. I believed Chloe." "Emily, you're so strong for speaking up. We need a Netflix documentary about this." I wasn't just clearing my name, I was dismantling the web Chloe had built. The final video in the series was the one that shattered everything. I ended it with a sentence that made the internet explode. Chloe doesn't just owe money, she owes a lot more, and it's not just to me. I didn't explain. I didn't need to. The speculation took care of itself. Micro cliffhanger delivered. Within days, the story was everywhere. Local news outlets picked it up first, then national ones. Headlines shifted overnight. From villain to victim, Emily Carter's shocking family betrayal. Chloe tried to respond. She went live on Instagram, tears streaming, claiming I was twisting the truth to save my own reputation. But this time, the comments weren't sympathetic. "Where's your proof, Chloe? What about Carter Lux LLC? Did you really use your sister's name for loans?" She ended the live abruptly. Then came the legal fallout. A formal civil suit was filed against Chloe for fraud and repayment of the loan. The IRS launched an investigation into my parents' tax filings. The boutique's financial records became public, and so did the Florida shell company. It was as if the foundation of our family cracked open, each secret bubbling to the surface. My parents stopped calling. My father's voice appeared once in a voicemail, strained and cold. "Emily, you didn't have to go this far." But I did, and I wasn't done. The weeks that followed were chaos for Chloe. Her name trended online. Her former customers demanded refunds, and business partners distanced themselves. I kept quiet on TikTok, letting the truth speak for itself. Then one night, I saw Chloe go live again. Her face was pale, her hair unstyled, a far cry from the polished image she had cultivated. "It's all lies," she insisted, her voice shaky. She's jealous. She always has been." The comments scrolled by faster than she could read them. "Nobody believes you anymore." "Emily showed receipts. You showed nothing." "Where's Ethan Ward?" Her hands trembled as she ended the live. I thought that might be the end of it, but endings with Chloe never came cleanly. Late one night, my phone rang. A number I didn't recognize. "Emily Carter?" a male voice asked when I answered. "Yes, who's this?" There was a pause. "I have information about your sister. You're going to want to hear this. She's not done. And what she's planning next, it's bigger than the boutique." My grip tightened on the phone. "Who are you?" "You'll know soon enough," the voice replied, "but you need to be ready." The line went dead. And I knew this wasn't over. The trial was long, brutal, and exhausting. But in the end, the truth was impossible to ignore. Chloe's forged loan application, the boutique's falsified financial statements, and Carter Lux's shady transfers painted a damning picture. My parents' tax records, now under IRS scrutiny, showed years of questionable activity. When the verdict came, I felt an almost eerie calm settle over me. Chloe was ordered to repay the loan in full, along with damages. My name was officially cleared. My credit was restored. And for the first time in years, I wasn't carrying the weight of someone else's choices. The media storm that had once painted me as the jealous sister now recast me as something else entirely, a survivor. News outlets called me for interviews. I told my story not with bitterness, but with clarity. How financial abuse could hide in plain sight, how loyalty was weaponized in toxic families. On a popular talk show, the host leaned forward. "Emily, if you could speak to Chloe right now, what would you say?" I smiled, not the brittle smile I'd worn at family dinners, but a real one. I'd tell her. I paused, letting the audience lean in. Then I simply smiled again, leaving the question hanging. The silence became its own answer. Months passed. The media attention faded, replaced by new scandals. But for me, life had shifted in ways I couldn't have imagined. With the damages awarded from the case, I founded a small non-profit dedicated to helping victims of financial exploitation by family members. We provided legal resources, counselling, and, most importantly, a community where survivors could be believed. I spoke at universities, community centres, and conferences. Each time I looked out into the audience, I saw people nodding, eyes wide, recognising pieces of themselves in my story. I was no longer the woman trying to prove she wasn't the villain. I was someone who had walked through fire and come out whole. One crisp autumn afternoon, I walked by the river near my new apartment. In my hand was an envelope, no return address, just my parents' handwriting. I hadn't opened it. I wasn't sure I wanted to. For weeks it had sat on my desk, a quiet reminder of a chapter I wasn't ready to revisit. But today, something felt different. I stood at the edge of the water, the envelope resting in my palm. My breath clouded in the cold air. "I don't owe you my peace anymore," I whispered. Then I let it fall. The paper hit the surface, bobbed once, then began to sink, the ink bleeding into the current. A gust of wind lifted the corner of the envelope just before it slipped under. For a brief second, I caught a glimpse of the first line inside. "We need your help." Chloe has disappeared. The current carried it away. I stood there for a long moment, watching until the last trace of paper was gone. In the months that followed, I heard nothing more about Chloe. The calls from my parents stopped. The silence felt like a kind of freedom. But sometimes, late at night, I'd find myself wondering, where had she gone? Was she running from her debts, from the law, from herself? And if she came back, would she bring chaos with her? I didn't have the answers. What I did have was my life. One I'd built on my own terms, free from the weight of their expectations, their manipulation, their betrayals. The non-profit grew. I hired a small staff, expanded our reach online, and began connecting victims to pro bono legal help across the country. Each success story reminded me why I'd chosen to speak out. I never mentioned Chloe's name in my talks anymore. She was just one example in a larger pattern. My story wasn't about her anymore. It was about reclaiming what had been stolen from me and helping others do the same. Sometimes, when I walked along the river, I thought about that envelope sinking into the water, about the words I'd glimpsed. And I realised the message hadn't been for me. It was still my parents' way of asking me to clean up their mess. Only now I didn't answer. I had built a new life, one rooted in truth, boundaries, and freedom. And whether Chloe was out there somewhere planning her next scheme or quietly disappearing into obscurity, it no longer defined me. The story of my life wasn't about her anymore. It was about me finally being free.